concept of the subtle body is an integral part of many spiritual and esoteric traditions. It's the non-physical, energetic counterpart to the physical body. There are many different types of layers and levels of energy that exist beyond the physical plane. And the subtle body is talking to and addressing those particular areas. The subtle body's believed to be the seat of consciousness and interconnected with the physical body through energy centers. So these energy centers or pathways are channels which the life force energy is moving. We call it prana or chi, and it's flowing through these energy areas. The key components of the subtle body are first the chakras, and they're major energy centers in the body, and they're often depicted as kind of wheels or swirling vortexes of energy. And they are tied to different aspects of our emotional, physical, and mental well-being. There are 7 chakras aligned along the spine, and each is associated with different functions and colors. Then we have the nadis. So what are the nadis? Well, the nadis are the subtle energy channels or pathways that carry prana throughout the whole of the subtle body system. And they form kind of an intricate network of flow and movement, and they're meant to nourish and revitalize our beings. The nadis are responsible for the prana, the life force, and the energy throughout the whole of the subtle body. And they kind of work as conduits, the way that that blood vessels carry blood through the physical body. The flow of prana moves, and it's really important because it helps us to align the physical, the mental, the emotional, and the spiritual being. There are 3 main nadis. Although the subtle body contains thousands of these nadis, there are 3 main ones, and they're considered the primary importance. The first is the Ida nadi. And Ida is associated with the feminine, the lunar, and it's a cooling energy. It runs along the left side of the spine and is connected with the left nostril as well. It governs the parasympathetic nervous system, emotional, intuitive aspects, and the right hemisphere of the brain. The Pingala nadi. Well, the Pingala nadi is considered to be the masculine, the solar, and the heating energy. It runs along the right side of the spine and is connected to the right nostril, and it governs the sympathetic nervous system, the logical, analytical aspects, and the left hemisphere of the brain. And then there's the Sushumna nadi, which is this kind of central nadi channel, this energy from the center. And it runs right along the spinal column, and it intersects with the other 2 nadis at the points of the chakra, right? So the nadis are moving around the Sushumna. And when it's balanced, you're in a state of spiritual awakening and higher consciousness. And that's one of the things that we're trying to do with chakra activation. By nourishing and working with the chakras, we're opening up the flow of this prana through the nadis. Now, the flow of the channels is so important for balancing the chakra. So we might be working with one part of our body, especially if we're in a pose or something like that, to try to work with the subtle body itself. Blockages and impairments in the subtle body and in the nadis can make us feel like we're not connected. Yoga, pranayama, breathing techniques, healing energy, all allow for kind of a more balanced flow. One of the things that you can do when you're working with the nadis is to experience a Kundalini awakening, which is very closely related to the kind of nadi work. It's believed that the Kundalini lies at the base of the spine and ascends through the Sushumna nadi, purifying all the chakras as it moves. And when the Kundalini is awakened, it kind of processes all of the things that need to be cleared away from our subtle body and allows us to go into a deeper sense of spiritual growth. The koshas. Well, the koshas are also known as the sheaths, and they're different layers or dimensions of the subtle body, and they increase in subtlety as we move through them. They kind of provide a framework for understanding the various levels of human existence and consciousness. And each kosha represents a different aspect of our being, from the physical all the way to the spiritual. The Annamaya kosha is representing the physical body, and it's composed of the elements of the earth. It represents that outer layer that's associated with real material aspects of our existence. It includes the physical body, the organs, and all the functions of the body. And it's sustained by food and the physical world, this connection to the physical world. So it's the body that we are mostly in. Then there's the pranamaya kosha, this energetic sheath. And we talk about prana as being this energy that flows. It encompasses that flowing energy. It's got the nadis and the chakras are part of this pranamaya kosha. And it's about the life force, the vital functions of the body, the things that are really driving our lives in a deeper way. It represents all the energy. And when we have a flowing prana, we feel a kind of internal energy. Then there's the manomaya kosha, which is the kind of mental sheath. The manomaya kosha also encompasses and deals with the mental, but also the emotional in many ways. Memory, desire, the functionings of the mind. And it's responsible for the kind of cognitive and emotional processes. So when we in the manomaya kosha, we're dealing with things that are like ego-driven, our perception, how we reason, how we make decisions. That's all happening in the manomaya kosha. Then there's the vijnanamaya kosha, which is the wisdom sheath. And it's associated with how we connect with higher forms of knowledge, like intuition, a deep understanding that arises sort of beyond the kind of realm of the intellect, true internal genius, intuition, discernment, and kind of spiritual wisdom. It's sort of a bridge between the individual self and the higher self, leading to a higher degree of interconnectedness and universal consciousness, which leads to the anandamaya kosha, the bliss sheath. And so this innermost layer, if you want to call it that, of the subtle body is pure bliss and spiritual consciousness. It's associated with joy and peace and realization of one's true nature. It transcends the limitations of the individual self and connects you to the infinite, timeless aspect of existence. And it represents this kind of ultimate goal of spirituality and self-realization. And it's important to remember when we're talking about the koshas that these are not like physical sheaths. Like it's not as if the Anandamaya kosha is in the middle of all this just waiting to be burst out. It's a metaphor for really seeing how the energies are more and more subtle. And as we approach this divine consciousness through activities such as meditation or other yoga practices, we can come deeper and deeper into our true selves and find that the koshas can sometimes help us in understanding where we are in terms of our psychology and then beyond psychology into full spirituality.